What is going on out there, peeps? I swear, man, every day the news just keeps getting more and more exciting. I almost quit my job this morning. I'm not even kidding. I had to calm myself down. I'm so sure this is getting ready to happen. I literally typed up my resignation letter and had it in the drafts, getting ready to email my director and my boss. I was like, look, man, there's no reason for me to do this anymore. My life's about to change, man. I didn't send it, thank God, but I was sure to help thinking about it. So we need to woosah. We need to come back to reality. It's hard not to feel this way. It's really hard not to feel this way. There's a reason for it. I'm going to get into that in just a second. A reminder to everybody, we have Pimpy's Investment Chat. It's the same name as the YouTube channel. I encourage you guys to come join us because in there we do talk about the Iraqi Dinar, the Vietnam Dong, cryptocurrencies, gold, and silver, and ways to protect your wealth. We do talk about Nasera Jacera in here. It's free to join. I will leave a link in the description and encourage you guys to come join us. I do have a second group called The Hidden Things in Front of Your Eyes. And in here we talk about current events as well as those things that you might consider conspiracies. 9/11, false flag events, those types of things. Vaccinations and fluoride and why they're not good for you. All right? The links will be in the description. They're free to join. Click them and it'll take you to the group. Let's get into what's going on. Before I get to the good stuff, let's start off here. Our boy Al-Kademi vows to whip ass on these people on the outskirts that keep messing up the mojo, the flojo of what's going on with Iraq. All right, so what is happening? The Prime Minister vowed on Thursday to what he called the ghost who control the border outlets, stressing that his government will soon start fighting these and restoring access to the outlets. Al-Kademi's speech came during his meeting with a group of media professionals, journalists, and political analysts, according to the statement of his office received by the news. Now, look, we know Al-Kademi is talking with Trump about possible help in these areas, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, we reported that there are a strategic team. So they pulled most of the forces out of there, and Trump said, we don't need the forces there. We will send in a strategic strike team that will work with Iraq, and I believe they're there now. There is a loss of billions of dollars annually in the outlets, and that there are gangs, groups, bandits, influential people who sometimes control the outlets and at the expense of the state. We agree. One of the issues is he's got to get this under control. Outside investors want to feel secure about their investment. The United Nations made it perfectly clear you got to do something about the stability of your nation in order for us to move you into a sovereign state. In other words, you have to be able to handle your crime and your corruption. Al-Kademi vowed there will be a campaign soon to restore consideration to the outlets, and we will fight ghosts. He pointed out that the money belongs to the Iraq people. Thank you for saying that, Al-Kademi. He really does seem like a man for the people. The money belongs to the Iraqi people, not the powerful or the armed owners who impose their will at the expense of the public interest. Drain the Iraqi swamp. Make Iraq great again. We will soon take a set of measures to change some administrative sites in the country, and after that we will hear a campaign of deformation of the government because there will be those who will be affected by these changes. Hey, whatever it takes to get you guys back on sound ground, you know what I mean? Let's make sure that the people, that's what we want to do. Just like here in the United States, we see Trump trying to turn the power back to the people. This is exactly what Al-Kademi seems to be doing. That's not what was happening before. I think Trump really likes Al-Kademi, and I also think that there was a real strategy in how we got him into office. They knew the other first two prime ministers were not going to make it. I think their real goal was to get in there Al-Kademi. He will be here in July to talk to Trump. I'm hoping that we will see a rose guarding announcement in which Trump is encouraging, let me try it again, encouraging the reinstatement of the sovereignty of Iraq, allowing them to remove the restrictions off their currency that they can then trade on the Forex, which is exactly what we want, just like the Zimbabwe dollar. All right? Al-Ghanimi pointed out that corruption is more dangerous than terrorism because it helps terrorists. And we will have a campaign to follow up on the causes of this corruption and pursue the corrupt. How about you go after Mahdi and have him explain, and this is why they didn't want Al-Ghanimi investigating Mahdi. They turned over a treasury with only $300 million in it. Where the F did the money go? I've not seen any new articles on that. That doesn't mean nothing is being done, but I was hoping that we would have seen something by now that would tell us that they would be seriously dealing with those corruption issues. And on the effort to combat the Rona Al-Ghanimi, we have a real challenge in facing the corona epidemic and the risk of weak infrastructure. Okay, we know they need to rebuild that. For 17 years, Iraq has not succeeded in building its infrastructure, but it has succeeded in building small malls because there are those who invested money, the state, in simple projects at the expense of citizens. Remember, I told you they were fictitiously, the corrupt were creating employees that didn't exist so they could get extra checks. But in addition to that, they were creating projects that weren't real and taking the money for these projects and not actually having projects that they were offering to the people. Iraq did not succeed in building a real health system or a good educational system and relied on projects that may be imported to the citizens by secondary, and the reason the economic policy that relied on oil, and when the oil prices, okay, in other words saying, because they didn't do what they needed to do to build other means of getting income besides the oil, this is why they're suffering now, is what he's saying. So the people lost hope. And this is right when it compares itself with other countries and developed neighboring countries. This is why the people came out and protest. This is why I think Al-Ghanimi is the right guy. Oh yeah, this is the big story. This is the one you're talking about because we're talking about the monies. Yes, not yet. Urgent, seize 3 missile platforms intended to target Baghdad airport in the sessions. Remember, Al-Ghanimi said they knew who was doing the targeting. And it looks like another lineup of missiles were getting ready to hit the airport, and it was taken care of. The security forces seized 3 equipped, complete, and prepared platforms to target Baghdad International Airport in the area in Dora, south of Baghdad. All right, let's get to the stuff that you guys have been talking to me about. Here's our boy Alak, and guess what Alak is saying? Some really great things, because he says something that was very interesting. Before, I told you guys I did videos, and I couldn't understand how come they were keeping 2 rates. One they called the real rate, and one that they called the market rate. There's a reason for that. The central bank governor comments on the concept of foreign currency reserves and its uses. So let's get into this. Iraq's central bank governor commented on Thursday about what some are deliberating regarding the use and concept of foreign currency reserves, which is cash, deposits, bonds, and gold. Alak said in a statement, unfortunately, some people understand the foreign reserves of the central bank as a surplus investment abroad. The real financial surplus the government has from surplus funds that invest in various forms, such as sovereign funds, invested funds, and generational funds, among others. Here's the good part that you need to hear. He said, as for the reserves at the central bank, they correspond to the dinar issued to the government and others. It is cover for the local currency, and it must not be less than a level of adequacy determined by international principles. Otherwise, the value of the local currency, which is the dinar, will collapse, as happened in the previous system. What he's saying is, whatever rate they come out with, they have to make sure that they are positioned to cover it. Now, he's not saying what the rate is going to be. Nobody knows what the rate is. There's a lot of us taking educated guesses, but we have noticed that Iraq has bent their ass backwards to buy as much gold as possible in large amounts of it. So what Alok is saying in that paragraph right there is, look, we get it. We understand how much currency has been issued out there, but we're sure to cover whatever the exchange rate is. That's what that says. Look it. It is a cover for the local currency, and it must not be less than a level of adequacy determined by international principles. So, the international people will set the rate based on what their ability is to cover. And the relationship continued. As for how the reserves is managed in terms of the type of currencies and the type of instruments, they are governed by internationally recognized rules and in all central banks, and we follow the same rules and in the subject complex of board technical details. I don't know about other times how close we've been before to the rate change happening. I can't comment on anything prior to 2018. My experiences start at 2018. But just in my short period of time, I don't think we've ever been so close to a rate change. And there's people out there that I talk to, they're like, holy crap, Pimpy, we have not seen any of this. Now, last year we saw a lot of activities, and we felt for sure it was going to happen. But that is nothing compared to where we are right now. So all those naysayers out there, get ready, because I have a feeling that we'll be able to laugh back at those naysayers and say, see, we told you so. This is what they're talking about. It is noteworthy that when the government borrows internally, it is tantamount to the withdrawing from the foreign reserves, because the dinar that it borrows is pumped into the market and turns into a demand for mostly imported goods and goods in the payments of foreign liabilities. And it, the government, does not place a dollar in the exchange for it to lead to the withdrawal or reduction of foreign reserves. What the hell does that mean, Pimpy? In other words, they're always making sure that there's checks and balance, that the money that they have meets a certain liability amount when the rate change happens. They have all the things they need to do a rate change. What we don't know is exactly what that rate change is. Okay? I don't want to push too much hopium out there. But whatever the rate change is, trust me, it was determined long ago. And that's why when I told you they seem to be keeping track of two rates. And every time the two rates seem to get farther apart and there was a bigger gap, they would implement new monetary policies that would close that gap so that they were still close together. We also know for a period of time, they were spending per month $1 to $1.5 billion US dollars to buy dinar off the open market. And this went on for a very long time. In fact, the rumor is that they removed 72% of the currency that was in the open market out of the open market. Whatever they know that's out there, they made sure that whatever it is, whatever rate they choose, they have whatever it takes to back that up. We seem to be very, very close. I don't know. I'm not going to push send yet on that email. But every day I keep looking at it. My finger keeps inching closer and closer to that send button. I think 2020 is our year. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Please subscribe, because when you do, it helps out the channel. And I surely do appreciate it when you do that. All right, you guys. I'll catch you later.